Hello, everyone. My name is Kim Brisky with Summer Corps, the administrator for the SBIF program. Thank you so much for joining us today for the February 2024 SBIF program rollout. We'll get started in just a moment. A reminder for everybody on the call today, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A chat box on the screen. Additionally, all attendees will receive an email with a link to the presentation. You can also rewatch this presentation on DPD's YouTube page. We'll just give the rest of the attendees another moment and then we'll get started. Again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kim Brisky. I am with Summer Corps, the administrator of the SBIF program on behalf of the City of Chicago's Department of Planning and Development. Today, we're going to be talking about the districts rolling out in February for the SBIF grant. All attendees are welcome to ask any questions by putting them in the Q&A chat box on the screen, and you will all receive a copy of the presentation via email later this week. To get the presentation started, I'd like to turn it over to Nora Curry with DPD to provide a few details and updates about the SBIF program. Nora?
Hello, everybody, and welcome again to our meeting today. We're so glad that you're here. My name again is Nora Curry. I am the SBIF program director for the City of Chicago Department of Planning and Development, or DPD, and you will be hearing from LaTanya Jones from the city's SBIF administrator, Summer Corps, who will be making our presentation today. But I did want to join and welcome you to the presentation and talk a little bit about the program. The Small Business Improvement Fund, known as SBIF, provides grants to small businesses and property owners to make needed improvements to your property. And over the last few years, we've made a lot of exciting changes to the SBIF program, including increasing the size of the grants available to you and making over $100 million in new funding available in TIFs all across the city. So those are very exciting and important changes, but one thing that is really important about SBIF is that technical assistance is a key strength of the program. When you submit your initial application, you will be assigned to a Summer Corps project manager, and that person is there to help you throughout the SBIF process. If you have any questions about the process or run into any issues that delay your project, you can call that Summer Corps project manager immediately, and they will answer your questions and help you problem solve. And I can't emphasize enough how important it is to keep in touch with that person. No matter what you may encounter. Sometimes you think you've got a problem, you hit a brick wall at some point with your system. A lot of times Summer Corps can offer advice, can offer a way through, can bring it to DPD, and maybe we can help get it through, because our job is to help you succeed with this project. So please keep that in mind. In addition to Summer Corps, your local delegate agency is another great resource. Those are the local chambers of commerce or community development corporation who may have told you about this webinar today. LaTanya will list them later in the presentation. And again, they are there to help you. They often can help you with the application itself for SBIF, help you put the documents together that you need to get through the process. A lot of them have a lot of experience with this program. And they can also help you with introductions maybe to local lenders or with the city permitting process. So there's a lot of expertise out there to help you. You just need to, put out the question. Don't be afraid to ask us. It's always better to at least try than to kind of think you have to do it all yourself. Please ask us. That's what we're here for. So with that, I'm happy to introduce LaTanya to make the presentation and answer your questions. So here's LaTanya Jones from Summer Corps and the SBIF program. Thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you, Nora. Again, my name is LaTanya Jones. I am the Deputy Program Director of the Small Business Improvement Fund Grant Program. Thank you for joining us today, and let's get started with today's presentation. Today, we will be discussing the eligibility requirements of the program and what you can do or what you can expect going through the process. Here is an overview of what we will be discussing today during the presentation. We will be explaining what the SBIF program is about, how you can determine if your business and or property is located in a SBIF district, which districts are open and on deck, what are the program rules, how can you go about applying, what resources are available to help, provide you with information on the February rollout, along with providing an example project, covering the frequently asked questions, and concluding with any additional questions and answers. So since 1999, the Small Business Improvement Fund, the Small Business Improvement Fund helps small businesses and landlords with reimbursable grants to assist with permanent building improvements. Please note that residential projects are not eligible through this program. The SBIF grant uses tax increment financing revenue to reimburse grantees for pre-approved repairs or rehab of their business facilities or adjacent land acquisition. Please note that this grant does not cover working capital or operating expenses. It is specifically for structure-related repairs. Summer Corps is the program administrator contracted by the city's Department Planning and Development Department. Grant parameters. For eligible applicants, the property must be located in the TIF district where SBIF funds are available, and the district is authorized to accept applications. Eligible applicants can include landlords of commercial or industrial properties, commercial and industrial business owners who either own or lease their place of business. Tenants are eligible to apply with a prior written approval from the property owner, as well as startup businesses are eligible, but they must provide us with a detailed business plan, and a Chicago business license will be required prior to the final disbursement. In regards to eligible limits, depending on the requirements, will determine the eligible limits that you will fall within. For a commercial tenant or owner-occupied applicant, the average gross sales must be less than $9 million per year. For a landlord of a commercial or industrial property, the net worth must be less than $9 million. And this is cumulative amongst all owners, and each individual must fall under the $500,000 in liquidity assets maximum. If one individual exceeds the $500,000 liquidity requirement, your application will not be eligible for the program. For an industrial tenant or owner-occupied applicant, you must have 200 or less full-time employees. Please note that if you own the business and the property, you will be subject to both the tenant and landlord requirements. The maximum grant amount allowed under SBIF are $250,000 per industrial property, $150,000 per single owner or single tenant of a commercial property or landlord, and $250,000 for a multi-tenant property, with the understanding that each tenant and landlord is eligible to receive a maximum of $75,000 each. Please note that applicants may receive one or more grants up to the maximum program assistance. Once the maximum is reached, the applicant will need to wait 3 years before reapplying. The percentage of eligible project costs can be reimbursed as follows. If your business sales or net worth falls between 0 and 3 million, you would be eligible to receive 90% reimbursement of the eligible costs. If the average sales or net worth falls between 3 to 6 million, you will be eligible to receive 60% reimbursement. If the average sales and net worth falls between 6 to 9 million, you will be eligible to receive 30% reimbursement. And for all industrial properties, you would be eligible to receive 50% reimbursement of the eligible costs. To better help you understand the calculations of this program, here is a SBIF grant calculation example. Grace submits her application for a SBIF grant in an open district with a total eligible project cost of $100,000. She is proposing to make permanent building improvements to her existing retail shop for which she is the tenant. Grace has been in business for 5 years, and over the last 3 years, her gross sales averaged at 1.5 million. The breakdown of the eligible cost is as follows. The total eligible cost for her project was at $100,000. Since she is a commercial tenant applicant and her gross sales is under 3 million, she will be eligible to receive 90% reimbursement. This will leave the responsibility of the city at 90%, which totals $90,000, and the applicant's responsibility at 10%, which totals the $10,000. And since she is the commercial tenant, oh no, that's correct. I'm sorry. The SBIF program is a reimbursement grant, so project participants should be prepared with financing to support the permanent building improvements upfront. So we encourage applicants to contact, the program rules is a reimbursement grant. So we do encourage applicants to contact their business lender or to reach out to one of the lenders listed on the Summer Corps website in a timely manner. Grantees may choose to complete their project in phases rather than requiring 100% of the upfront cost for their project. To participate, grantees must receive an approval for the full scope of work and the phase work schedule. Construction timing will be completed based on necessity and contractors' recommendations. Receiving phase disbursement will be based on the progress or completion of eligible construction work. This example breaks down the process if you decide to move forward with breaking your project into phases. The full scope of work includes roof tear off, HVAC work, and facade renovations. The total cost of $180,000 with a grant approval of $150,000. Once the applicant completed the roofing work and provided the proper paperwork, the applicant can be reimbursed for that work and use those funds to address the next work item, which is the HVAC work. Then this process is repeated, and once it's completed, they'll be able to utilize the reimbursed funds for the next set of work for the facade improvements. So what is the program timeline? In the first stage, you will be given 20 days to provide the requested information needed to complete your application to determine eligibility. Once you're deemed eligible, you're moved into stage 2, where you will have 120 days to provide us with the plans, bids, and specs for your project and cure any city debt. Please note that stage 1 and 2 must be completed before final review and project approval by DPD. If approved, you will receive a conditional commitment letter signaling you are able to begin construction. Once you begin construction, you will move into stage 3, where you'll be given up to 10 months to complete your project. Proof of permit or submitted permit application, which is concurrent with the 10-month construction phase, must be submitted within 120 days following the date of the commitment letter. Also, the applicant must provide proof of sufficient funds to complete the project, which is also concurrent to the 10 months and must be submitted within 120 days following the conditional commitment letter. The applicant must prove they currently have sufficient equity to complete the project by providing at least 50% of the funds needed to cover the total project cost. Once the project is completed, you'll be moved into stage 4, which usually takes 4 to 6 weeks from when your reimbursement request is sent over to the city for processing. We will inform you of when your funds are available and provide you with closing documents to complete. Please understand, unless DPD grants an extension of time, applicants who do not complete each stage within the required phase time limit will be disqualified and removed from the program. Is my property or business located in a SBIF district? In order to determine if your property is located in a SBIF district, please visit our website at summercore.com/SBIF for assistance. Once you reach our website, you'll scroll down to where you see Get Started and select number 1. Which takes you to the SBIF Locator tool, where you can enter your property address at the top. Once you enter your address, it will let you know if your property is eligible, provide you with the name of the SBIF district of where your property is located, and when the district is scheduled to open for new applications. It will also provide you with a list of delegate agencies for your area so that they will be able to assist you. Eligible SBIF districts in Chicago span across neighborhoods on the north, south, and west sides. Each month marks a new 30-day period in which SBIF districts with available funds open for applications. Notice of districts opening are provided to the relevant aldermen, posted on DPD and Summer Corps' website, and included in the monthly SBIFgram. Please visit our website at summercore.com/SBIF to obtain the list of upcoming districts opening. Once you select number 2, you'll see where it says districts that are open. That link will take you to the list of the most recent up-to-date list of the open and on-deck SBIF districts. Okay. Which business and organization types are ineligible to apply? This will consist of chains and franchise businesses, branch banks, pawn shops, liquor stores, nightclubs, adult uses, smoke shops, not-for-profit social clubs, organizations that have a national affiliation or similar uses. Please note that this is not a comprehensive list, but just to give you an idea of the type of businesses that are not eligible to apply. If you're unclear about the business type that you have, please feel free to reach out to us. What type of improvements are eligible for SBIF funding? This would include roofing and facade improvements, components of signage and awnings, which are affixed to the building, ADA compliant improvements such as railings and ramps, HVAC and other mechanical systems, plumbing and electrical work, certain project-related architectural and construction management fees as it relates to the project, certain environmental remediation measures, permanent interior renovations, including fixtures, as well as purchase of adjacent land parcels for the purpose of expanding or parking. Again, this is not a comprehensive list, but it just gives you an idea of what type of improvements we cover. But if you are not sure what type of items for your project is eligible, you can definitely feel free to reach out to us as well. What improvement costs are ineligible for the SBIF funding? This would include new construction, any standalone repairs, such as cosmetic improvements, equipment-related expenses, such as appliances, computers, or office furniture, planters surrounding or affixed to the building, outdoor dining or drinking areas, fencing, pergolas, privacy screens, and similar structures, the construction or repairs of parking lots, landscaping, or interior work for residential units. What are the SBIF design requirements? Applicants for commercial properties seeking a grant of $25,000 or greater shall be required to make at least one exterior improvement using at least 10% of the maximum grant amount. To receive project approval from DPD, improvements must conform to DPD's design guidelines. Applicants are strongly advised to consult with Summer Corps and a design professional on design requirements and guidelines before drawing up plans for work. There are some key design guidelines that DPD will review during the approval phase, which includes preserving or recreating the original design and window openings when possible, incorporating permanent signage to clearly identify the business, including adequate lighting, especially near entrances, welcoming customers, avoiding any window clutter, making sure that windows will let in natural light to attract past buyers to the business. Other forms of security are preferred, but if necessary, only interior mounted security shutters that are integrated into the storefront design can be reimbursed. What measures are in place to ensure applicant compliance with program rules? Checks will be performed on all applicants during the approval stage to ensure they are complying with child support laws and not indebted to the city. Any scofflaw debt must be cured to participate in the SBIF program. Applicants can cure the debt via a city payment plan. Applicants using a payment plan must be in compliance with that to receive any SBIF reimbursement funds. All applicants must be current on property taxes prior to any reimbursement. Each applicant must sign an affidavit of an economic disclosure affidavit. Grantees must sign an affidavit certifying that they will not relocate out of the TIF district or sell the business within 3 years following the disbursement of funds. And to be reimbursed, landlord applicants must have an executed lease with a qualified tenant, and that tenant must be occupying and actively operating their business or not-for-profit organization out of the lease space. How do I apply? Visit our website at summercore.com to complete the SBIF application within the designated open period. You can find a copy of the application located under the Get Started portion, where it will take you to a PDF fillable version where you can type in the information or you can print it out and complete it by hand. Please allow 2 business days for SummerCore to confirm receipt of your application via an email response. If you do not receive an email confirmation within this time, please send us an email to spiff@summercore.com or give us a call at 312-360-3300. Applicants are responsible for making sure submissions are received within the open acceptance period. Applications received after 5 p.m. on the last date of the acceptance period will not be eligible. What resources are available to help? You can visit our website at summercore.com/SBIF to access resources that can help you through the SBIF program. We have a list of resources that include lenders, contractors, technical assistant providers, and small business resources that can be used as a tool to help. You can also connect with your local delegate agency for assistance in filling out your application. Please get to know your local delegate agencies. These organizations are assigned to assist small business owners in the SBIF districts opening this month. You may be familiar with these organizations. If not, please reach out to them, introduce yourself, and let them know your plans for the SBIF program, and they will assist you accordingly. For the February SBIF districts, we started accepting applications for these 5 districts until March 1st at 5 p.m. The districts that are open for new applications are 51st and Archer, Archer and Central, Belmont and Cicero, South Chicago, and Western Avenue South. Please be advised that applications for these areas will not be accepted past 5 p.m. on March 1st. Here is a sample SBIF project that was completed in the Belmont Cicero TIF district. John, Beth, and Sons Plumbing completed their project, and as you can see from the before and after photos, they utilized SBIF to complete some exterior as well as some interior renovations for their business. The detailed scope of work for this project included a complete roof tear-off, storefront improvements, new HVAC unit, building out a new office space, and structural related improvements for the garage area. What additional information should I hand in with my application? Here is a list of the documents that will be requested from you in order to complete your application. Please note that these documents are not required for you to submit with your initial application form. We just want to give you an idea of the type of documents that will be requested depending on the type of applicant that you are. This would include business tax returns, proof of ownership, economic disclosure statement, personal financial statement, affidavit of child support, principal profile form, jobs created and retained survey. For startups, we require a detailed business plan and 3-year projections, including the income and expenses, executed lease agreement, affidavit and certification of a property owner, a full-time equivalent employee affidavit, as well as copies of tenant leases. So, yes. Are startups or new businesses eligible? Yes, most startups are eligible. Startup applicants will need to supply a detailed business plan and projections of their business income and expenses for the first 36 months of operation as part of their application materials. The City of Chicago reserves the right to impose additional questions or conditions for funding in connection with startup business applications. If you have been in business for 1 or 2 years, Summer Corps requires tax returns and a projection of gross sales to equal the 3 years of data. Am I eligible if I live outside of Chicago? The important consideration is where you have your business and property. To participate in SBIF, your property must be located in the city of Chicago, as a funding source comes from the city of Chicago's property taxes. If you live in another area, please contact your city's planning, economic development, or community development department to see what programs are available to assist small businesses. What if my building has both business and residential space? The program is primarily for business use, but there are mixed use exceptions. For these buildings, many envelope projects such as roofing, facade improvements, and tuck pointing are eligible. Will there be enough SBIF funds for all applicants? Each tax increment financing district that has a SBIF program authorized in it has limited funds reserved for the program. If the demand for SBIF funds is greater than the available funding supply, then a lottery will be conducted to determine the order in which each application may be accommodated. If any surplus funds becomes available, they will be accoladed to waitlist applicants. Can SBIF be used with other city grant programs? No, SBIF cannot be used at the same time as Neighborhood Opportunity Fund or the Chicago Recovery Grant Program on the same project, as well as covering the same work. However, you may be eligible to apply for multiple grants at the same time and select the best fit for the project, provided you stay within the grant timeline requirements. Is there SBIF funding available in my district? Every SBIF area has its own budget that the city refills if it has TIF funds available. If there is a demonstrated need for more grant money, we also maintain an interested party list for funds, which you can also send an email to SBIF@summercorps.com to join. When more funding becomes available, or the city accolades more funds, we will let you know. The interested party list helps the city of Chicago gauge demand for additional funding. What if I'm in a TIF and not in a SBIF? Tax increment financing, known as TIF, is the mechanism that funds the Small Business Improvement Fund. If you are in a TIF district that does not have a SBIF, please contact your alderman. Here's a list of contact information for our SBIF department and the program director at the Department of Planning and Development, Nora Curry. Oh, sorry. This concludes our SBIF presentation. I would like to thank everyone for attending. And for those joining the webinar today, you will receive a link to today's presentation. Now we can proceed with the questions and answer session.
That sounds great. Thank you again, everybody, for joining today, and for Latanya for running through these questions. So I'm gonna kind of look and see what we have here. Oh, I'm so sorry, my screen went dark here. I would say the first question that we normally get, or I always like to ask first, is what are some of the key challenges, the most common challenges that you see for SBIF applicants when they want to participate in the program?
I would definitely say that for participants in the SBIF program, one of the I would say difficult things that I've noticed are financing. Definitely just trying to secure financing, trying to determine like the budget for the project, getting the necessary estimates. That's why we tend to suggest to applicants that it's important to start finding funding, whether it's talking with your current business lender ahead of time to see how you can work on your funding ahead of time before you actually get into that approval stage.
This is helpful. One other one question that I saw here specifically is, if you have received a SBIF grant before, are you able to apply again? And could you apply, let's say, at a different location? How would that work?
If you have applied before and you've received funding, long as you haven't reached that maximum grant amount, you would be eligible to reapply for that property. But if you did max out the grant amount for that property within the last 3 years of applying, then you would have to wait until the 3-year period is over with before you can reapply. But it does not hinder if you have a separate property address. You can apply for that, the other property that's different from the one that you received grant funding for.
Okay, so having it a new location is acceptable. I've been seeing quite a few questions that talk about specific addresses and whether or not they are eligible. So I just wanted to put back on the screen just for a moment the reminder of where you can find this information out on the Summer Corps website. Just plugging in your address, and when you plug it in, it'll tell you if you are in a TIF, if it's scheduled to be open. And if it says that nothing is scheduled, that just might mean that it just was last year, or there's still an active waiting list on it. So you can also view the entire list just to get a good picture of what the districts that are up. So I just wanted to quick review that, because we've seen quite a few questions about that. And yes, as a reminder, everybody will be getting a copy of this grant afterwards. Somebody was asking, what if they already started a project? Could you still apply for SBIF for projects already in process and get reimbursed for work you've already done? How would that work?
So for the SBIF program, it does not cover any work that you have completed already. You have to submit an application, go through the process, and obtain approval before you can start any construction work. in order to get reimbursed for the work completed. I'm trying to think if there anything else. If you have started work and you're looking to apply for, if you still have additional work remaining that you haven't started, you can apply for that work, but we just wouldn't be able to cover anything that's already been completed. But we would just have to have a clear understanding of what work is completed compared to what work is remaining.
Right. And for us, that would mean very clear invoices and, being able to follow specifically this work was paid for, it was completed after a certain date so that we can have that clear. Somebody was asking about like the timeline for when applicants will be made aware if they're going to be able to move forward with the program. Can you kind of talk about sort of, right now we're just in the first application phase, which doesn't even end until March 1st. So once March 1st happens, sort of what's the timeline after that, if you could explain that?
Sure. So once the district closes, we will follow up with applicants within 3 to 4 weeks to let them know if there is a lottery, if we will be moving forward with your application by requesting the additional documents needed to complete your initial application. And then once you have received confirmation that you'll be moving forward through the process, you'll be going through each step accordingly within the designated timeline that we provided earlier in the presentation.
Right. And there's a possibility if we get more interest in a district than funding we have, there could be a lottery. And sort of if you can walk through a little bit, what does that process look like then for folks getting that information?
So in the event if a district has more applications than we have funding available, we do conduct the lottery. We will let you know when we will hold it. We do that remotely as well. You'll receive a link, and that just determines the order, and there'll be a randomized order in which we will process each application. That wait list is good, depending on, it just determines the order in which we will process each application. So we will go through each application on that lottery list until the funds have been exhausted, and then the remaining applicants will be placed on the wait list for the 2 years. And as funding becomes available, we will continue to work on that list to bump applications off.
Mm-hmm. And so just as a reminder, this isn't a first come, first serve. You can apply at any time during the month, and that won't have an impact as to whether or not you get financing. So just a reminder that if you apply now, we won't even start actually reviewing the eligibility really until the end of the month. So keep that in mind as you're working through this process and for your timing. One other question, could you talk a little bit about the type of contractor? Who is allowed to be a contractor on a SBIF project? Is there need to be certain licensing? Could an applicant be their own contractor? Can you run through those rules?
Sure. So in order to have a certified contractor to use for your project, they have to be licensed by the city of Chicago. We do require a valid certificate of insurance, as well as a detailed estimate for your project. But applicants are not eligible to be their own contractor, so they will need to obtain a certifiable contractor that they're not connected to in order to be eligible to use them for their project.
Got it. Thank you so much. So that answers a couple of questions about the contractor. Somebody wanted maybe just a little bit more information about how do you, on your original application, provide best guess estimates without putting down like getting formal bids. Do you have any suggestions as how to help with that?
I would suggest you give a rough estimate. I will say it's best to estimate higher than lower, because ultimately we will utilize that information to determine how much to reserve for your project once you start moving forward through the process. Now, we understand that it will change once we get into the construction planning phase of you providing the estimates, and we'll put in that the updated information. But at least if you give us an idea on the higher end, we'll be able to make sure that we have the proper amount of funds reserved for your project.
Mhm. And I think too, that's an opportunity to maybe talk to delegate agencies who are assigned so that perhaps they've helped other folks go through this process. I think that's a good place to start. But our hope is, these are things you've already been thinking about. So most of you probably do sort of have a good picture in your mind of what you're trying to accomplish. I think, the one question somebody was asking was just like, we talked in the beginning about additional challenges. Can you talk a little bit about just the importance of hitting deadlines, communicating with project managers as really sort of a key element of making sure things continue moving through the process, and we don't have, our goal is to never have to remove a project. We want everybody to be successful. But can you kind of talk a little bit about those elements and how that comes into play?
Sure. So with the SBIF program, you will be assigned once you submit your application for consideration and you're deemed as eligible. You will be assigned to a project manager who will walk you through each step of the process. So ultimately, our goal is to help you. So it's important to always let us know if any changes come up. If you just have questions before you submit anything, if you need assistance with how to fill out the information, we can assist you accordingly or point you in the right direction of how to get that information that's needed to move forward in the process. And ultimately, when we know exactly what's going on, it's easier for us to maneuver how we can proceed with your application. Like if you need additional time, it's important to let us know ahead of time that you might need an extension or you might need additional time to submit information that's needed because of a delay of you obtaining that information to submit.
Is it true that you find that a lot of the times if a project does have to be removed, a large chunk of it is due to lack of communication?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. I did want to make a note too that somebody was talking about actually purchasing a building, and just for reference, the SBIF grant cannot be used for building acquisition. However, if you are interested in purchasing your building, we do actually at Summer Core, separate from this work we do for the city of Chicago, we offer the SBA 504 loan program. We are certified by the Small Business Administration to offer that, which can include a loan to be able to purchase property. So if that's something that you are interested in, feel free. You can also just send an email to the SBIF email, SBIF@summercore.com, and we can follow up with you more and connect you with a loan officer if that is something that is a good fit for what you're trying to do. I think we have answered all the questions. And, as a reminder, everyone's going to get an email with a copy of this presentation. You can also go to DPD's website, or excuse me, YouTube page to be able to rewatch this presentation again. And if you have additional questions, just send an email to SBIF@summercore.com, SBIF@summercore.com, and we'll be able to have one of our project managers answer back. But I'm excited by all this interest, and we look forward to seeing your applications this month. Thank you so much.
Thank you.